Welcome to the Information Security Forum podcast. I'm your host, Tavia Gilbert.
Do I not want to brush my teeth? Do I not want to get a cavity taken care of? So, for instance, that cavity could suddenly become a root canal problem. Well, it's the same thing with cybersecurity. You can let it go, but you are putting your business in jeopardy.
That was Adam Levin, author of Swiped, How to Protect Yourself in a World Full of Scammers, Phishers, and Identity Thieves. In this episode of the ISF podcast, we bring you the third and final conversation, focusing on the maturity, collaborative culture, preparation, and responsiveness required for true cyber resilience.
Certainly at the ISF, we've recently produced some guidance for our members on running breach simulation. And I think you're right. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that all of our members are in perfect shape. But I think it is interesting that even though organizations will sit there and say, yes, it's important, when you get into some of the details that we've just been talking about, some of the implications, some of the resource requirements, not only are they just frightening, but they come second or third or fourth, perhaps, to the way in which the organization is then going to go about doing its daily business. And for me, this is one of the biggest challenges that we have to overcome. It's about how do we embed this cyber focus into day-to-day business. So it becomes like brushing your teeth. You get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you don't think about it. How do we get cyber so integrated into the DNA of an organization and indeed into the consumer that these things become almost natural?
Education, education, education. And the fear factor. I'm a great believer that scaring is caring. And this is one of the things where every business has to say, okay, if I have a breach, I'm going to have very angry customers. I could lose my customers. I'm going to have very angry regulators, and I'm going to have very hungry class action lawsuit attorneys all knocking at my door. And my business could come to a screeching halt. It is, at the very least, when everything goes right when you're dealing with a breach, it is a disruptive event at an organization. So you have to say to yourself, just like, do I not want to brush my teeth? Do I not want to get a cavity taken care of? So, for instance, that cavity could suddenly become a root canal problem as opposed to just filling a cavity. Well, it's the same thing with cybersecurity. You can let it go, not worry about it, hope you're going to avoid it, or say, well, I've done, some things. But if you're not doing them all the time, you are putting your business in jeopardy. You are putting yourself as a member of the C-suite or the board possibly in the crosshairs of a shareholder derivative lawsuit or a variety of other things. Plus the fact that one would assume if you're in business, you'd also like to have happy customers that feel like you care about them. So we have to, as a country, develop a culture of privacy and security that we haven't really done, that we're really going to have to do. And frankly, the government has been a miserable role model. Not to mention the fact that, it's great to get tax cuts and all this other stuff, but what about tax credits for organizations that actually implement security, cybersecurity in particular? Just like when it comes to the whole concept of like a credit freeze. So the bureaus were very freaked out about the possibility of having to give free credit freezes. And for years, they fought it with the Congress, and this was part of a bank deal where they finally got the free credit freezes. But I always said that the impact on the economy is significantly beneficial by creating free credit freezes because you are at least trying to reduce the amount of incidents that you have with people having their lives disrupted, billions of dollars being drained from the economy by bad people, businesses being in trouble. So, yes, it might cost the reporting agencies a little extra money, but what they're going to do is turn around to the businesses ultimately, and they're going to say, so you're going to pay a few pennies more when you pull a credit report on someone. And businesses are going to turn around and say to consumers, well, when you're not looking, we may raise the price on something here or there. But when you see it as it trickles through an entire economy, it's a net plus because of the billions of dollars and the hundreds, if not thousands of hours spent by individuals dealing with this problem. And that creates less productivity, that creates more emotional tumult, That creates all sorts of dislocations for businesses and employees and families that, again, sometimes you look for where can I get a positive when I'm actually putting a requirement on somebody to do something that some might feel is economically burdensome. Now, in Europe, they're getting the message with the EU because you're talking about 4% of your global revenue or 20 million euro, whichever is greater. So there are certainly sticks as opposed to carrots over there. In this country, the sticks are class action lawsuits, regulatory action, reputational damage, and there should be carrots. And the carrots should be where the government goes out of its way to encourage businesses to better protect themselves because it is for the benefit of society that they do so.
I wouldn't disagree with you. What I would say is I think that requires a higher degree of maturity in terms of looking at the challenge of cyber. And for me anyway, cyber is still very much an immature space. So it hasn't, reached that degree. It's still the teenager, if you like. It's still doing all sorts of strange things. And I think as with most teenagers, we look at them and think, well, if we stay well enough away, maybe they won't come near me, or maybe they'll grow out of it and so the problem will go away. But cyber isn't going to go away. It's going to become ever more pervasive, ever more prevalent. And I think that yes, within the EU, there are certainly some sticks that the legislators, the regulators have introduced, GDPR being one of those. But this notion of the carrot, I think, is one that we've yet to see. And for me, that would mark a maturing of the cyberspace, a much better understanding on behalf of government in particular, that there are things that can be done to encourage people to protect what is going to be a fully fledged digital economy in a very, very short space of time.
We're 1,000% right. And again, we have to reorient our thinking. We have to say, look, this is inevitable. So we're going to do everything we can to better authenticate individuals. We're going to do everything we can to move along biometrics, even beyond where they are today in terms of two-factor authentication and other things, maybe a three-factor authentication. These are the things that are going to have to evolve. And frankly, once you get into that territory, it's very expensive. So hopefully over time, as more and more of this occurs, prices will come down, businesses will feel more comfortable in doing it. But the reality is that the outcomes are draconian on so many levels. And you see business organizations now banding together and sharing threat assessments and being more open. You're even seeing with the federal government, they were unwilling to give security clearances, for instance, to many secretaries of state. Now they have, so the secretaries of state could be more up to speed, knowing what the threats are, so it could contribute to them making their election systems more secure. So I think there's a greater recognition of it, but for me, it's still very disturbing when you have a White House where the cybersecurity advisor is gone and the president's national security advisor, who, frankly, on many occasions has said in his estimation, cyber is not that important. Only recently you've seen a number of government agencies where more mature heads prevail that are actually talking about the dangers of cybersecurity and the need for us to make ourselves more cyber secure. And yes, cybersecurity may be a teenager, but this teenager is growing up real fast.
Adam, thank you very much indeed for sharing your thoughts, your insights. And your book, Swiped, is available now. People can pick it up in bookshelves via Amazon, presumably?
Amazon. It is on Amazon, calling out everyone's name.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thanks for tuning in to our 3-part series with Adam Levin, author of Swiped. If you missed episodes 1 and 2, be sure to visit the ISF Media page to catch up. And come back soon for another valuable conversation with Steve and an expert guest. In the meantime, for more resources for CISOs and anyone looking to enhance the security of their business, please visit securityforum.org. And we'd like to hear from you. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, or someone you'd like to hear interviewed, get in touch through our website or tweet us at Security Forum. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.